Have you ever made a big decision only to realise it changed nothing? You spent all that time on it, you had all the thinking around it, and then eventually it didn't actually do anything. Okay, so you hired, you restructured, you maybe launched a new product. The numbers just barely move though. So today we're talking about the hard truth most business owners miss. Most decisions, most actions that they're taking week in, week out, you know, we're encouraging people to move more and do more stuff, doesn't actually move the needle. In fact, some set you back. Let's talk about how to choose the right battles and stop sabotaging your own progress. So, think about this. I spoke to a business owner last week. He was burnt out, frustrated. Every quarter, a new pivot, loads of new ideas, what he's going to do. Great. You know, first of all, good. Good that he is having these quarterly planning meetings. He'd walk away with all these different steps of the dance that he could do. And this could include new hires. Let's piss about with an organizational chart. Let's put new technology in place. But their profit, it was the same as it was 2 years ago. It was flat. The team still overwhelmed and their growth still stalling. Why is that? Well, the reality is that just because you're doing activity, you're taking different steps, taking different actions, just moving more, it's just busyness. It's not actually moving the needle. And this is the thing. We really need to figure out what are the actual steps of the dance that we need to do to move the needle. Because remember, every time that you change something in your business, you have to deal with the change process. Okay. So there's a lot of research on resistance to change. Okay. The larger business that you have, if you change anything from a small process to a large process, that is different to the people that is different for the people that are running it. Yeah. And any change, whether they like it or not, is either going to have an 80% down drop. Okay. So if you're running at that 100% right now, using the process or the things that you're currently doing in your business, if you change anything, it's going to drop by 20%. So you're only running at 80% of effectiveness because it's different. Yeah. You don't know how it works yet. There's some opportunity for growth in it, which it could be a good thing. Yeah. But it takes time. So now you need to allow for time. So here's the question. Have you got the time to put that change in place? Is it worth it as an investment of time and money? So we haven't even spoke about the resource or the financial aspect of it, of change. Is it worth the time investment to take a 20% step back to then make further steps forward? Is it going to be a 20% gain in the future? Is it going to be a 50%, 100%? Look, I'm all for making these different changes and taking different steps to move this needle forward. But that's operating when we spoke about the efficiency only dropping 20%. If you've got a team in your business and a culture that doesn't adapt well to change, and the first thing that people would say is, well, Lewis, you need to fix the culture. Okay, fuck you, right? This is going to be harder in bigger businesses. But within a smaller business, great, because there's less people doing it and you can say that everyone is going to be on board and happy, blah, blah, blah. But you're dealing with humans. You're also dealing with so many different factors and variables. You're talking to an organizational psychologist here, right? There's so many variables that could happen in people's traits and states and their beliefs and all sorts. I mean, that person could be very agreeable for a start. And they could be saying, yeah, this is great. Let's go and change it. And then they don't actually mean it. Yeah. So there's sabotage. There's all sorts of stuff that could happen with any change. Okay. So the reason I say fuck you to a consultant that may, or a coach that says, look, you got a culture problem there, or anything like that. Well, great. Well, you show me your business then where you've done this and it's been smooth running. Because I can absolutely show you my businesses where any circumstance, people have a level of resistance, and that might be, oh yeah, great, that's great, Lewis. Let's move forward and do that. And in the back of the mind, they're going, yeah, but this is going to be hard for me, or they could be going, fuck you, this is going to be impossible, or they could be quite resistant and open and go, this is a bad idea, blah, blah, blah. What I'm saying here is there's always a cost, either time or money, to any change that you put in your business. Okay? So if you're the sort of person that likes to be impatient and do something different in the firm every week, every month, there's a new change or something that you're always adding to it, but you actually haven't even seen the results from the previous change yet, then you're in big trouble. Yeah, because all you're doing is that if you're thinking about a scalable business, this might be okay for a 2-man, 3-man, 5-man, 10-man, 50-man business. But as it gets bigger and bigger, you're dealing with human psychology, right? You're dealing with people. People like the comfort. They like the habit of being in that process. So I'm not saying don't do it here, but if that's just the best possible outcome here is to have a 20% setback in your efficiencies. Think about the worst one. It could drop your efficiencies down in the current processes that you've got down to 20%. It could have an 80% hit on your efficiencies. Somebody doesn't like it. Somebody becomes a bit of a culture vulture and spreads negativity about the processes that are changed. It puts more hard work onto your management for change. Change management is a big thing. And if you keep making these next big decisions too often, too quick, then what happens is that you never actually get the 100% of the previous change that you put in. So what I'm actually saying here, look, as business owners, entrepreneurs, managers, directors, whoever's listening to this right now, you have to be patient, okay? Make sure that the thing that you're putting in place, if you are doing weekly activities, great. That's good for smaller businesses that can get shit done and more often, but that's because of you doing it. And if you're going to make a bigger impact on whatever that needle may be, we'll talk about that in a while. If you're going to have a bigger impact on the thing, then it's going to have to be a bigger change. Yeah. Small micro changes will have a compounding effect. And that's a good thing that you can work on if it's not getting into the day-to-day of someone else's job, their efficiencies and the way that they work. So what can you do about it? Well, let's begin with what is the needle? Yeah, we said about making these big decisions, but only if they move the needle. So step one is, what is the needle that you're actually trying to do? Is the needle just to be busy? Is it just to be busy, or because a consultant said that you should do this thing, right? Are you always looking and chasing for someone to have arse on seat and making sure that they're busy? Or is the needle your revenue? Or is the needle your profit? Because revenue is vanity, profit is sanity. Yeah. Cash is king. We need to make sure that this is a business that is actually making profit and can scale off that profit as well. And that's the needle, isn't it? Yeah. If you agree with that or don't agree with that, you may have your own needle. Of course, if you're a sales director, listen to this, you'll be going, my responsibility is ultimately to get the revenue in so that the operations are fed, service-based, manufacturing, whatever, product, whatever it may be, that the operations are fed so we can get more out the door. Okay? But then the financial department's going, yeah, great, we need that revenue coming in, but we need to have to make sure that the business is making a profit. Otherwise, what's the point? Okay? If you make a lot of money but no profit, you may as well just go and get a job. Yeah? Save all the hassle. So what is the needle that you're trying to move? Then work backwards of what are the options that you can do. And then think about the time scale that you're going to apply to this. But before you take any action in it, before you take any steps of the dance and fucking up someone's day with your new bright, shiny idea, business owners, remember that this will have a setback on their effectiveness. Yeah, because they have to learn something new. So 20% hit back. That's the cost of change on time, and because you're paying for these people, your money. So you're not going to be as profitable straight away because they aren't as efficient as they used to be. I mean, look, it's simple, right? If somebody's done something, no matter what they do, and they've done it for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, they're very good at doing that thing because they know what to expect. If you put something new in place, they've got to learn it again, okay? And that doesn't account for all the things that we spoke about, like the traits of what if they're resistant to it? What if there's whole new processes they're not comfortable with? What about if it's someone who's done this job for 10, 20 years and now they're going to do it differently and they don't like it? What about if it's somebody that's not skilled in the new technology or marketing that you're doing. They have to learn all this stuff as well. And then you're dealing with something from a HR perspective as well, is have they got the skills to deliver on this? So you're invested in other things as well, like training. Yeah. So all this is okay, right? I'm not saying don't do this, because obviously you need to move the business forward as well. I'm just saying that a lot of people out there make these decisions without bringing this into mind. Yeah, they're not thinking about what sort of cost is this going to have, time and money, on my effectiveness of the current business. Because if the needle is profitability, is margin, is cash in the bank, ultimately, then you having a 20% drop in your efficiencies to put something new in and not being able to get to 100% again within 6 months, you're going to have a shit year, because 20% drop in efficiency, if you're trying to beat the profit that you made last year, let's say you made $1 million last year and you want to hit 1.5 this year, but then you put in like 10 different, a change a week in place, that's 52 changes that you're doing over a year. What will happen then is that those 52 changes will have, all different departments will have to drop in their efficiencies before they can step forward. And even, okay, so Lewis, but we're going to get someone external to do it. They're going to get done for you. An IT company's going to change the system for us. Okay, great. Who here has had a CRM put into their business where it's been all bells and whistles, fantastic thing, it's going to be great? And it may well be, but it's the people that use it. It's been delivered by an IT technician that can see the potential, but that IT technician doesn't have the great communication skills. You've been sold it by the sales department. It's now obviously the IT technicians. They're getting pissed off because you guys aren't happy with it. It's costing you a lot of money. Even if it's been a free CRM that I've seen in clients in the past. Remember, I've business coached over 100 clients here, and I own 8 businesses myself. Even if it's been a free CRM software, the team members have complained about change. And that was free. Okay. Then after a couple of months, it's become the norm. Oh, let's get a paid CRM, something even better. Oh, yeah, but does it do like this one, the free one? And you're like, oh, for fuck's sake. You see what I mean? But this is natural. This is going to happen. And when you put more people in the combination of that mix, thinking it, don't just see the person. Yeah. See their, imagine that they're like a thought bubble sitting in the chair. And that thought bubble has like all different sorts of thoughts going on and mess. And imagine like a cartoon, there's all these different thought bubbles coming off this person. That is the actual thing that you're dealing with here, is the psychology of that person, of how they're having to deal with change. And that dealing with change has come from your enthusiasm to want to keep changing your business. And it's especially dangerous for people that are just started out, because they're used to, let's say if it's an entrepreneur, going to start your own business, you're doing all the stuff, you've got loads of great ideas, you've got the new AI system that, everything's AI nowadays, you've got this new great AI idea that's going to take over the world. And you've put all this stuff in place, you've done the marketing, you've done the sales, you've done the systems and the technology. And all of a sudden, over 5 years, you are so used to taking steps fast because you've had to keep ahead of the game because of your excitement and enthusiasm to get this product launched, that now you still want to keep making change, but you're making change on the changes that somebody else is just catching up into getting used to. So all you're doing is you've got somebody in a seat that hasn't even reached 60, 80% of their potential yet, and you're bombarding them with new stuff that's knocking them back down to 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%. You see? See, a lot of people, even though we talk about like A players on here, B players and even C players and D players, you don't want them in the business anyway. You shouldn't even have hired them in the first place. But the B players and the C players had a lot of value, right? And nobody wants to be called a B player or a C player. Some people are okay with it. If I think about some, I'll take my own mother, for example. She is quite happy working in a restaurant. Well, she was. She used to work in a restaurant for a long time, and she was quite happy. If you go, hey, look, I play a restaurant person, she's like, well, what the fuck does that mean? I should just rock up there and do what I'm told. That's fine. Yeah, it's okay. Now, you need those people as well to run your business. You need those people in your firm as well. And these people that are going through that, if you ever heard of disc, like the personality traits, the disc profiling, the DISC, the S stands for steady. These steady people are kind of like the people that are playing defense in your football game. They are there waiting for when they need to step up, but they're still supporting the business and waiting for when something is the ball's going to come down their side, and they need to make sure that it's not going to get in the back of the net. Okay, that doesn't mean they have to be the striker all the time. So here's what we're saying then. What is the needle that you really need to move? Yes, you do need to take bigger steps forward and you need to be on your business, but make sure it's on the business that moves that needle. Make sure you're doing the stuff on the business that moves that needle.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the show so far and getting a lot of value from it. Look, we do this for free because it's our vision to help more businesses and their teams scale and actually achieve what they went into business and their career for. So these raw boardroom style conversations deliver the real data on what works and what doesn't, saving you time, money, and most of all, making sure that you don't miss on these opportunities that could really help you scale. Sharing it with people really supports us on these podcast platforms so we can achieve our vision. So if you have a like-minded friend, colleague, or business owner that could get value from this, thank you for sharing it with them. You know who you are, and greatest respect for everybody that's doing that so far. And if you haven't, then please support us. Let's get back to the show.
Making the big decisions isn't always the thing that's really going to move you forward. Sometimes it's just focusing on the smaller compounding things that make makes effectiveness in everything that you do. So make sure that you're not pushing people back, especially if you've got employees in the firm right now. You don't want to be sabotaging them because you've always got the next big thing in your mind. Okay, so what am I saying here? You've got to be patient, right? Results in business, you have to be patient for it. But you also have to be quite aggressive about it too, okay? So you have to go out there. You've got to want it. You've got to need it. But the amount of people that I've seen fuck themselves because they're too impatient. They want to take more and more steps, but they're not actually letting the old steps and the old process follow through yet. And that's what I mean about fuck themselves, is that they screw up their own success because they're thinking this is what it takes to be successful because they've seen this hustle bullshit mentality on social media. But what they're actually becoming is change junkies, always tweaking, never stabilizing. And as the business grows bigger and bigger, this may work for the first 5 years. But remember, a lot of people go into business because they want to have more life, not work for somebody else and be on their terms instead, and make more money and possibly build a legacy that they can pass it on to their kids in the future, blah, 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 blah. But if you think about the more life and the more time and the more money, is the more that they keep thinking that they're doing this hustle mentality, that may be the thing that got them off the ground to make their money. Yeah. But now it's costing them their time and they feel that they need to be adding that same activity into a business after 5 years when it's going to start to screw them up because you need leverage. Okay. You need leverage. So I heard something from Brian Tracy, actually. And he said that it takes 10 years to become a millionaire in whatever you do. Okay. So it took me 9 to 10. It's correct, right? You've got to stick at it. You've got to be in it and sticking at that one thing. But the journey of you progressing towards whatever it is that you're after means that you do have to be patient with it as well. Brian Tracy did not say it takes 2 years to become a millionaire. He said it takes 10. And he's a clever guy. He's worked with a lot of people, a lot of very successful people, and it takes 10 years. So people that think that they can just hustle harder in their business, that may be the thing that gets them off the ground. But they really need to think about what they're hustling on rather than just making loads of changes in the firm all the time. Otherwise, you're actually going to take 15, 20 years to become a millionaire because you keep fucking your business over. And not just your business, but your people too. So you got to learn to. There's other things as you develop. So what sort of things should you focus on after the first 5 years? So Lewis, you're telling me here that look, the stuff that got me there won't get me where I want to get to. Yeah, the what got me here won't get me there. It's spot on. Okay, you got to think now rather than doing the thing that got you here, which would have been building the systems, building the processes, change. Now you've got people and the systems in place that just need to play out a little bit more because who knows what will happen in the economy and what the systems that you got right now might not be as effective right now, but it soon might spike. There is a roller coaster in every economy, by the way, and every product and service that you sell. So what does that tell you? Don't try and change the game. Optimize the game. Yeah. Think about how you can optimize to support that. And if there is a roller coaster in that economy, then what would be a good idea would be to then think about something that contributes towards stopping that roller coaster in your business. So maybe finding another product or service that has a different seasonality that you can then apply. You're not messing with the current system. You're letting that, like a lane, you're letting that lane of your business pan out. You're letting it evolve. You're letting it grow. It's a bit like, you when you first, if you do any gardening, you put the seed in the pot and you come and look at it every day and you bit of water. Is it doing okay? Has it got the right nutrients and everything like that? Is it in the right sunlight? And eventually it just needs you to stop fucking about with that plant and let it, and just see to it every quarter, maybe. Yeah. And this is the thing, if you want to get leverage, people ask me, I had a work experience guy coming the other day and he said, I said, look, you got half an hour. What sort of things would you like to ask me? He went, how do you own 8 businesses? I went, easy, leverage. Leverage. He says, well, what does leverage mean? I went, right, we're going to need longer than half an hour. You've got to get leverage. And if you do want to find out what leverage means, go back for the previous podcasts and I'll talk about it quite a lot. You've got to get this leverage, okay? And that leverage comes from people running the business that get better at running that system than you do. But they can't get better if your big ideas, especially I'm speaking to the visionaries right now, the entrepreneurs, the visionaries, if your big ideas keep changing that process, keep looking for, the next thing that we can change to do it, the changes need to come and you need to set a boundary here. Let's say, here's a bit of an outline for you. The first 1 or 2 years, yeah, something once a week, once every fortnight. Make sure you put something in place. The next 1 to 5 years, you should be thinking about how do you do it from monthly to month to month? What is the biggest outcome that we can do this month and all get behind to change the key number, which is the dial? Yeah. And then after your first 5 years, looking at it quarterly. What can we do as a quarterly rock, a quarterly goal that we can all get behind? And maybe your departments can all have their own quarterly rock. By the way, if they take accountability for it, they're accountable for the outcome and the result and not you. So allow them to be in the quarterly planning meetings. If you go on my website, lewishaydon.com, you can see these. This is some of the service I do is quarterly plannings. If people want to book that in, I charge $2,000 to have one of these with a sit down. If they're a coaching client, it's a grand. What happens though is that when people have that quarterly planning day, they get all their team and they get all their managers, their departments, their boardroom table around a boardroom table, and I work with them in positioning what is the one rock that you need to do as an operations department, as a sales department, as a finance department, as a HR department. What is that one thing that you can do that your whole team can get behind? Not you go and throw rocks at them. How can you all get behind this rock that you break this quarter? Not thousands of different steps. I see people coming away with like plans and there's like 20, 30 things on there. And you're like, fuck that. Yeah, great. You're just trying to find stuff to do here, or you're letting your business thrive. Remember that plant? It's like you're still looking to it, pruning every tiny little leaf on it from the start. You've got to let it flourish, and that's how it's going to grow into a large tree. So remember, stop getting in the way of your own success here. Make big decisions, but be careful of how often that you do it, and make sure that ultimately it is focusing on the constraints of your business, i.e., the thing that will really move the needle.